sun, sand, and crystal clear waters. But rewind the clock 327 years, and the Bahamas was hell on earth. As many as 3,000 sea rogues set off on raids from Nassau. These pirates were the enemies of all mankind. What motivated them? What daring deeds they pulled off? Nobody knows, because nobody has ever gone looking. Until now.
Welcome back, Wreck Watchers. We are super excited to be joined on Wreck Watch's Pirates Festival by Dr. Michael Pateman in the Bahamas and Dr. Sean Kingsley in the UK. And you guys have some exciting exclusive news to share. But first, before we blow that cannon, why pirates? What gets your juices flowing about these sea dogs? Let's start with you, Michael, since you live in the home of the mighty Pirates of the Caribbean, the real-life headquarters of Blackbeard and so many others. Were they everywhere in your imagination as a kid?
Well, so we're here to launch the New Providence Pirates Expedition. But yes, I am from the Bahamas, and especially I'm from the island of New Providence. And as a child, pirates always sort of got in my imagination. I was just very curious about them. Why were they in New Providence? Or specifically, they were in Nassau. Why were they so prevalent? It's taught in our history, but when you look at the histories of pirates, it seems like New Providence and Nassau is excluded quite a bit. Outside of that, they were headquartered here. You see places like North Carolina claim Blackbeard. Well, Blackbeard actually lived in Nassau and was the leader of the Pirate Republic at some point. So now I like to say he was the governor of the Bahamas in the past. But also, we have a structure in Nassau called Blackbeard's Tower, where we're told that's where he lived. Although I don't agree with that because it's a later period structure. So it's possible he lived there in a previous tower and something's being constructed over it, but not in what we call Blackbeard's Tower. But nobody has really explored these mysteries. But also, it's the whole story of pirates, starting with Henry Avery, that got me interested in archaeology, because I was just interested in trying to find a pirate ship and learn more about pirates.
That's the thing about New Providence, isn't it? This was the capital of the pirate city. When you talk about Johnny Depp and Captain Sparrow and the Pirates of the Caribbean, that $4.5 billion franchise, it didn't happen out there. It happened right here in Nassau, New Providence. So when you walk along these beautiful beaches in the Bahamas, the pirates are everywhere, but they're nowhere. They've kind of just disappeared. And how can 1,000 desperado cutthroats who brought back 270 prizes to split all the booty? I mean, Michael and I, we're historians, we're academics, and we know very well that, a fort can disappear, but the archaeology, the footprints, the traces, the wood that these pirates walked on their ships, the glass wine bottles and the pottery they used, the tobacco pipes they smoked, bits of that has to be still there. And the amazing thing is nobody's ever gone looking before.
So Michael, you're an archaeologist. You live there in the Caribbean. You have, this is your backyard. And people have been finding pirate evidence, in many different places. But you're at ground zero where the pirate headquarters really were. Is there archaeology there? What kind of things are you finding?
Well, that's actually the biggest problem. You have people have done a lot of archaeology in the Bahamas, but the archaeology is focused either on the Lucayans, those are the indigenous people that were here before Europeans, or on plantations during the transatlantic slave trade. So that archaeology of this pirate period has really been just ignored. You look at all of the pirate books and pirate archaeology books, and there's no mention of Nassau because there's never been a project to look for that pirate capital. And I think it's actually a little bit of that sort of thing we try to hide from our history a little bit, because while some of us are proud that the pirates called New Providence, specifically Nassau, home, there's a lot of shame in the Bahamas about that pirate stronghold of Nassau.
And I find it fascinating because, there's barely an artifact from the golden age of piracy on display anywhere in the Bahamas. So what you have is the odd thing being tripped over from time to time. We were talking just yesterday that when a new museum was built in downtown Nassau, some years ago, they tripped over a deposit of the old pirate market. And there's a story about when some pilings were being put in to build a bridge over to Paradise Island, that used to be called Hog Island, they hit a shipwreck with late 16th century coins and bits of tobacco pipes. So we know it's out there somewhere. And these pirates were larger than life, yet nobody has given breath or life to these characters. And that's what we want to do with the New Providence Pirates Expedition. We want to have fun with it, but we want to throw some science at it, create some education, help develop tourism with it. And, I don't know about you, Michael, but I just feel in my bones there is a ton of stuff out there.
Oh, I agree. There has to be something there. Yes, some of it would have been lost over time, but there has to be some deposit somewhere.
So for the first time in history, astonishingly, and we're very honored that the Bahamas is going to allow us to go diving and doing some science to look for the remains of the actual pirates of the Caribbean. So the New Providence Pirates Expedition is amphibious. We want to use lots of state-of-the-art technology, satellites in the air looking down for ruins of anything from this golden age of piracy, beneath the waves using basic scuba. But also we want to use remote technology, remotely operated vehicles, autonomous underwater vehicles, to see if we can find, these elusive pirate ships and indeed other remains of merchant vessels. The truth has to be out there somewhere.
Yeah. Now, Michael, if there is one thing that you would like to find, what is that one thing?
Chris, there's so many things I want to find. So there's a lot of myths associated with piracy in the Bahamas. And I'm hoping that this project can actually put to bed some of those questions. So, for example, Blackbeard's Tower. Did Blackbeard actually live at that location? I know the structure is a later period, but it doesn't mean that he didn't live there previously. There's pirate ships. There's supposed to be multiple wrecked in and around the harbor. You have the Fancy, the flagship of Henry Avery, which really started Nassau as a home for pirates. Can we find remains of that? What about the battle between Woodes Rogers and the pirates of Nassau when he arrived and he was greeted with a big burning frigate in the harbor? Where's the archaeological remains of these things? I would love it if we can find this, because then it puts Nassau at the center of the story of piracy in the Atlantic.
And when you talk about pirates of the Caribbean, we know all the big figures. We know about Hornigold, Blackbeard, Stede Bonnet, Calico Jack Rackham, Sam Bellamy, Henry Avery, Harry Reid. But you've got 1,000 desperado cutthroats living in this shanty town. Yet we have no idea where that town was, what their houses looked like, what daily life was like. So in many ways, if you just flip off all these famous names that were written in this book, The General History of the Pirates in 1724, to become a blockbuster that echoes down the centuries, turn that off and actually make a new slate. What we're doing is we're giving faces to all those anonymous pirates, and where did they live? How did they live? And actually, were they decent human beings? Was this a republic? Was it a democratic space where enslaved Africans who were freed could live a democratic life? Or actually, were they really just terrorists? Well, enough talking maybe. We're really lucky that we've created this short video with RecWatch TV. So maybe we just spin it.
Oh, thanks so much, Michael and Sean. We are going to lift the veil of secrecy and go beyond the legend and the lore to find out the truth about these pirates. Why? Because deep down, we care.
Sun, sand, and crystal clear waters. The Bahamas, a paradise on earth, has it all. But rewind the clock 327 years, and this place was hell on earth, the most feared pirate's lair in the world for England, Spain, and France, the superpowers of the age. Between 1696 and 1721, a who's who of pirates made Nassau on the island of New Providence home. Henry Avery, Blackbeard, Anne Bonny, Benjamin Hornigold, Jack Rackham, Mary Reid, and Charles Vane. Together, they became the Flying Gang. As many as 3,000 sea rogues set off on raids from Nassau, dragged back unimaginable wealth, and partied away their ill-gotten gains. For England, these pirates were the enemies of all mankind. To men, women, and children, from Jamaica to London, they were heroes, the Robin Hoods of the seas. One thing's for sure, What life was really like in the Pirates Republic of New Providence, nobody knows, because nobody has ever gone looking, until now. In 2024, all that's about to change. Dr. Sean Kingsley and Dr. Michael Pateman, in collaboration with the National Museum of the Bahamas, have been green-lighted to search for the ancient remains of the real pirates of the Caribbean. Above seas, the New Providence Pirates Expedition is using satellites and artificial intelligence to reconstruct what the Pirates Republic looked like, with its shantytown of huts, stores and inns surrounding a menacing fort at the foot of a well-sheltered harbour. We take a hard, fresh forensic look at who these people really were, what motivated them, what daring deeds they pulled off, and their bloody fates. Below the waves, we're sending divers and robots into the shallows and depths to search for the very first time for lost pirate ships, the legendary decks on which the most famous pirates of all time wore, and whose holds were stuffed with riches. Passers-by spoke about the wrecks of 40 ships littering the beaches at any one time. Top of the lost hit list is tracking down the very ship that started the golden age of piracy, Henry Avery, the Pirate King's flagship. The Fantasy plundered over $100 million from the Mughal Emperor in India before being sunk in the harbour of Nassau. Somewhere out there, never seen or explored, are the greatest archaeological legends of the golden age of piracy. The real world of the Pirates of the Caribbean is about to be revealed. This is the New Providence Pirates Expedition.